kala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala. Page 128. Boi kala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala. And the words at the bottom of the page. Hachamame roshaila not nistalka, bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat hamalka. Hachamame roshaila not nistalka, bo v'netzeh likrat Shabbat hamalka. Boi kala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbos.
Good evening, good Shabbos. Welcome to Congregation Dor Tamid in our Friday evening Kabbalat Shabbat worship service. Wonderful to be here with all of you in the sanctuary, as well as everyone joining us at home from wherever you are through our virtual community. As we enter into this Shabbat, we enter into this sacred moment in time, this liminal moment that separates the week that was from these 24 hours of rest and reflection and renewal. Later on in the service, we will sing the words of Vishamru, which say, Vayinafash, coming from the Hebrew word nefesh, meaning the soul. We are taught that this day can truly renew our souls, is what that word tells us. To re-soul ourselves, to allow our soul to be renewed and reborn and refreshed on this day that we get each week. And it's truly a blessing to have this every Friday night through Saturday evening as an opportunity to check in with ourselves, to put aside the schmutz of the week that was, and to be present with our community, to be present with the divine. We open our hearts to the world and our hearts to Shabbat as we turn to page 128 for the words of Yidid Nefesh. Please join.
Yidid Nefesh Barachaman, Yidid Nefesh Barachaman, Meshochav Lecha, El Ritzon Lecha, Meshochav Lecha, Yala la 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 El Ritzon Lecha, Yarut Abdecha, Kemo Ayad, Ishtaka Yala la 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 El Muladarecha. Yidid Nefesh Barachaman, Yidid Nefesh Barachaman, Meshochav Lecha, El Ritzon Lecha, Meshochav Lecha, Yala la 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 El Ritzon.
Page 127. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. We begin our Shabbat with a blessing, the blessing over the lights of Shabbat. And I'm going to invite Steve and Jody Wolf to the bima to kindle our Sabbath lights. Page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Pray now into our service of Kabbalat Shabbat, our service for the welcoming of the Sabbath, with the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat, beginning with Psalm 95. We sing together joyously to Adonai, Lechu neranena.
Lechu neranena l'Adonai, Nariya letzor yishenu, Nekahad ma'ana betodah, Bizmirot Nariya lo. Page 131. Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God all the earth
A new song. I will sing unto God a new song.
Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God.
Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash,
Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash.
We turn now to page 142 as we welcome in the angels of Shabbat with the singing of Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
In just a moment, we will transition to our Mariv service with the Shema and its blessings, using the words of the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144 to make that transition. But tonight we're going to do something a little bit different, that after the Chatzi Kaddish, rather than turn one page, I'm going to ask you to turn about 120 pages to 264, which will be service 2 this evening. So we're going to do Shabbat service evening 2. So we Turn first, though, to the Chatzi Kaddish to transition to that on 144.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
V'yalmad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
V'chayechon u'vyomechon
U'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael.
Bagala,
Bagala, u'vizman kari v'imeru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, ve'alam ulal me'al maya yitbarach. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh. Ve'yitadar ve'yitaleh ve'yitalav. Shemei dekudesha
Berichu.
Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush berchata v'nechemata. Da'amiran ve'alma ve'imeru. Amen. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai Amvorach.
Baruch Adonai
Amvorach.
Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed.
Yalalai lai lai. 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 Yalalai lai lai.
Please be seated as we continue responsively on page 265. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom.
Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures.
Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu u'kumenu na'asiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratcha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Yihem chayenu be'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla nege yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, u'ktatam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'yisharecha, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
We continue responsively now on page 269. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp, as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. No tehilot, ose beve, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? When Moses and the children crossed the sea, they sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, kamocha netar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, ose fel, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai hapopres sukat shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, Oti leolam.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת
לדורות הברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
שמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת
לדורות הברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות
הברית עולם.
We turn now to page 273 as we rise for the tefillah.
Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi agidi latecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yehu leratzon imrefi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri. Goali, Goali, Yehu leratzon imrefi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali
Throughout the book of Numbers, we see a cycle of the story that the people, as they are sojourning in the wilderness, as they are making their way from Egypt to Sinai, to the promised land, seem to kvetch just a little bit. Just a bit. Those of you who have been to Torah study have gone through the entire book of Numbers and seen time and again how the people complained, how the people kvetched, how the people stiffened their necks in order to cause problems for Moses and the other leaders. And this week's Torah portion, Parshat Korach, is a prime and central example of one of these complaints and rebellions that the people raised against Moses and Aaron. The Torah tells us that Vayikach Korach, Korach took his friends and the men who followed him, including Dathan and Abiram, and went to Moses and said, "Who are you that you should lord over us? Who made you king?" Is basically what they said. Who put you in charge? The obvious answer is God. But what Korach challenges Moses is, aren't we all from the kingdom of priests and a holy people, as God told us? So why should you have this authority over the rest of us? Korach, it is to be noted, is a Levite. He comes from the line that is set aside to work in the tabernacle, to work in the tent of meeting, and to assist the priesthood, to assist the descendants of Aaron, Moses' brother, in providing the sacrifices from the people to God. But Korach challenges Moses and Aaron and asks, shouldn't someone else, namely, shouldn't I have a chance at leading this people? And the Torah tells us that Moses does something interesting. Rather than become obstinate, rather than get angry, rather than push back in the face of Korach, Moses, yipol apanim, he falls on his face. He prostrates himself before God and the community in his humility and asks God to render a decision. For you see, Moses understands that in certain ways, Korach isn't wrong. That if we all are from the kingdom of priests and the holy people, we all should have the ability to be God's messengers here on earth, to do the work of the divine here on earth. But the problem with Korach and Dathan and Abiram isn't what they're doing. It's how they're doing it. Those of you who come to Torah study know that I often quote movies as to provide examples, and usually it's as a metaphor or as an example, but here we actually get a visual of this scene when Dathan, one of the three main characters, played by Edward G. Robinson phenomenally in the Ten Commandments, challenges Moses. And the issue at hand is the motivation behind the challenge. Wanting to lead, wanting to have power, wanting to have authority is not necessarily a bad thing if it's done for holy purposes. But what Korach and Dathan and Abiram do in challenging Moses the way that they challenge Moses is they're doing it for their own aggrandizement, their own kavod, their own glory, not to serve the people as Moses and Aaron have been doing. And so what's important for us to remember is this question of ends and means. Sometimes the ends may be right, but if the means of getting to the ends are wrong, then we shouldn't go down that path. Korach and his band went down a path trying to receive leadership for themselves, but they did it in such a way that challenged God, that challenged Moses, and that did so by doing it for their own selfish purposes. And that is where they've sinned, that's where they've gone wrong, and that's why the Torah says they were consumed by fire and which our commentators say was the fire of their own greed and jealousy. And so as we read these words of Korach, these words of Torah about Korach and Dathan and Abiram, it's important for all of us to remember that we may have aspirations, we may have goals, we may have things that we are working towards in our lives, but the method on how we ascertain those goals, how we strive for those goals, is just as important as reaching the goals themselves. Amen. We pause now in our service as we take a moment and think of members of our community who are ill. Some are in the hospital, some are at home recovering, and some have diseases and illnesses from which they may never recover. This week we think especially of Susan Rachel Stockel, Carmelo Devaya, Stacy Ford, Angelo Capozzoli, Gloria Foreman, Sandra Slavin, Sophia Kramer, Marcia Heisler, Elizabeth Jonas, Harriet Jacobs, Gail Kahn, Randy Kennedy, Jonathan Waller, Catalina Deltet, Gary Swartz, Sheila Schneiderman, Tom Bradford, Janelle Nichols, Robert Cohen, Brianna Jacobs, David Sankey, Stanley Bassell, Rena Fields, Richard Jacobs, Brooke Jacobs, Carolyn Eisenhart, Larry Futterman, Marty Barish, Gary Paul, Brian Berger, Chandler Jacobs, Yaelbat David Valea, Alan Friedman, Sarah Kahn, Lee Silverstein, Jill Vanteam, Eleanor Goodman, Libby Routman, Marjorie Whitmore, Jerry Phillips, Paul Kershon, Reva Fisher, Leslie Knight, Bert Singerman, Mateo Velasquez, Max Jacobs, Kathy Waldner, Richard Zuspin, and Christopher Denton. If you are thinking of someone who's in need of a prayer of healing, I invite you to share their name with the community as my eyes meet yours, or to add their name at this time to the chat.
Ankle.
We think of all those we have named and all those we hold in our hearts as we ask for God's healing presence to be with them. We also ask for God to watch over victims of violence around the world. May they be blessed with healing, hope, and love. And we ask for God to watch over those who care for the sick each day. May their hands and their hearts be blessed with wisdom, compassion, love, and support. As we ask for God's healing presence to be with all of them and all of us, as we sing together this blessing on page 371.
Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, a renewal of body, a renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn now to page 586 as we rise for Aleinu.
Alinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'teit gedula liotzer bereshit, shehu notesh shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinatu zo begove meromim, u'Eloheinu einod, v'anachnu kore'im, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai, L'melech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad. U'shemo echad.
Please be seated. Page 595. Yesh kochavim shoram magia arza, rak ka'asher hem atzmam avdu ve'enam. There are stars up above, so far away. We only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. At this sacred moment of our Shabbat evening worship, we think longingly and lovingly of those taken from us both recently and at this season in years past. We mark the Yartzites, the anniversary of their passing on this Shabbat, of Sidney Abrams, Arnold Leroy Badish, Jeannie France Gordon, Morris Hankin, John Hirsch, Molly Kaplan, Ben Karp, Ronald Kern, Rosalie Crandall, Mary Laban, Max Serlin, Karen Sugarman, Harold Taustein, and Ellie Wiesel. If you are marking a yahrzeit or remembering someone on this Shabbat, I invite you to share their name with the community as my eyes meet yours. Zichronam livracha. May all of their memories continue to be a blessing. And may we link all the memories of those we have named and those we hold in our hearts to the millions of our people who have no one to say Kaddish for them. Remembering them all, we turn now as one community, rising in body or in spirit, as we turn to page 598 for the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam l'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all the bereaved here and everywhere with the blessing of peace. Together we all say, amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
we turn now in our prayer books to page 625 for our closing song. Please join us in singing Adon Olam.
Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol
Yisir
Nivra Le'nasa,
B'chatz HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam,
V'yacharei Keklot HaKol, Teva Adon Yimnot Nara Adon Olam, Behu Haya, Behu Holech, Behu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol
Yisir
Nivra Le'nasa, B'chatz HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Echad,
V'yein Sheni,
L'hamshelo V'yachvira Adon Olam, B'li Reshit, B'li Tachlit, B'lo Ha'oz V'hamishra Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol Yisir Nivra Le'nasa, B'chatz HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Behu Eli, B'chai Goali, B'tzorcheli V'yetzara Adon Olam, Behu Nisi, Umanosli, B'nakrosi B'yom Mikra Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol Yisir Nivra Le'nasa, B'chatz HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, B'yado Akid Ruchi, B'yedi Sham B'ya'ira Adon Olam, B'im Ruchi Giviyati, Adonai Levid Lo Ira Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol Yisir Nivra Le'nasa, B'chatz HaKol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam.
Please be seated. Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbos.
Once again, it was wonderful being here with all of you as we welcomed in Shabbat this evening, both all of you in the sanctuary as well as everyone joining us online through our virtual community. A few brief announcements before we conclude our service with Kiddush and a Motzi and a closing benediction, and then have an opportunity to go have a nash together at our Oneg Shabbat in the social hall. Our men's club softball league, our softball team continues playing. They won last week against the Temple, and they play again this Sunday at Zabin Park at 1 o'clock. If you're looking for something to do on Sunday afternoon, go cheer them on. They really would appreciate or do appreciate when anybody comes to support them. On Monday, we have Mahjong at 1 p.m. in Classroom 5. On Tuesday, there is knitting and crochet group at 1 o'clock and a sisterhood game night at 6 p.m. Wednesday, there is no Tanakh study for the next 3 weeks, but the Sandwich Project will be meeting at noon. So you can still come and do a mitzvah, make sandwiches for those who are in need. On Thursday, at both 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., there's Mahjong in Classroom 5. And then next Friday night, we have our Kabbalat Shabbat worship service at 7:30. Next Saturday evening, July 1st, Mike and Amy are putting on a casual Independence Day concert. BYOP, bring your own picnic. We're going to provide some of the beverages as well as an ice cream truck for dessert. And the night will cap off with fireworks here in the parking lot set off by our member Matt Gable. So we hope that you'll be able to join us as we begin celebrating Independence Day week. Please just let Stacy know if you are planning on joining us, just so we can make sure we have enough chairs and everything set up. So we hope you will join us for that. A couple other things that are coming up in the more distant future. It is the end of June, which means I'm leaving for camp on Sunday, which also means it's time to start thinking about the High Holy Days. Sorry, Mike. That being said, the two things I want to point out right now are things that are going to be happening over the summer or later in the summer as we start prepping for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The choir will be singing on Kol Nidrei. If you're interested, if you have thoughts about singing, talk to Mike. Also, we're bringing back our shofar choir again this year. If you have interest, if you know how to blow a shofar, first of all, but even if you don't and have interest in learning how to blow a shofar, and want to participate in our annual Shofar Choir on Rosh Hashanah morning, Doug Katz is coordinating our Shofar Choir, and we'll be having a class as we get closer to Yantif this fall for anybody who wants to learn how to blow the shofar. So just keep that in mind. Watch for more information mid-July about the holy days and registration and all that stuff. But I just wanted to give everybody a heads up before I head up to Coleman on Sunday. As we do each week, a special thank you to those who have given to our community of many different ways. This week we want to thank George Waldner, who is still overseas visiting friends that he grew up with in Eastern Europe, but when he comes back, he will see the beautiful new tablecloths that are in our social hall that he donated to Dor Tamid, and it really gives a different look to the room, and we thank him for his contribution. We are now going to conclude our service with Kiddush and Motzi. So, Ella, you're it tonight, so come on up. And help Mike and I with Kiddush as we all turn to page 123 and we rise.
Here you go, Ella.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hidchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit Hihu yom tehila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kiranu v'charta Katanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh Shabbat L'chaim. Now, Ella, will you uncover the challah for me? Yep. There we go. As we sing together, Motzi lechem min haaretz, thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
Motzi
lechem min haaretz.
B'tei avod.
And as she has the first piece on behalf of all of us, we ask for God's blessing. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai varechet amo v'yakol v'nei adam b'shalom. May God give strength to our people. And may God bless all of us, all of Israel, and all creation with the blessing of peace. Together we all say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos.